back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the young adult fantasy novel Firian Rising, and this is English Nerd. So in today's 2-minute writer, I wanted to give you a few quick tips about how to make your essays longer in a legitimate way. Since school is just around the corner, I figure a lot of people will have this on their minds pretty soon. So here are some quick tips for making your essay longer without using some of those cheap, obvious, fluffy fillers. So number one is make sure that you define your terms. If you haven't defined your terms, then this is a good opportunity to make your essay a little bit longer in a way that actually strengthens your argument. So if you're using a term like justice or something, what do you mean by justice? Do you mean an eye for an eye? Do you mean something more merciful? Just define your terms. In your introduction is a great place to do that. Tip number two is to add context to your evidence. One thing that I see with a lot of students writing is that they just jump right into the evidence without giving any sort of context. So you don't need to go on and on with context. That can become fluffy, but if you give just a orient your reader, your grader, to where you're getting this information, that can add a few sentences here and there and really enhance and lengthen your essay. My next tip is just to add more evidence to your point. Another thing that I see is that students will use the minimum amount of evidence for their papers, and this can go for a history paper, an English paper, even a personal statement. They just will speak either vaguely or they'll only give one or two pieces of evidence. If you give another piece of evidence to support the idea that you're putting forward, then that can and will strengthen your argument if you do it well, and lengthen your paper in the process. In the conclusion, another thing you can do is to make sure that you explain why your argument or your topic matters. If you haven't done that, then be sure to add that in the conclusion. A couple of sentences should do the trick, but that's a couple of sentences that you didn't have before. My last and final tip is that you explain how your evidence or how your details actually support your main point. This is probably the biggest gap that I see in student papers. Again, this can be literary analysis is really my forte, but even in personal college essays and things like that, how do these details actually support the main point that you're trying to make? Don't just give me those details and give me the evidence. Make sure that you explain. So check your evidence and your details and see, do you actually make that connection explicit or not? That is probably the best place where you can add length to your essay and content that is worthwhile at the same time. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If there are any topics that you want to see this upcoming school year regarding Englishy things, be sure to let me know down below, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.